Hey, how was the run?
Let's put it this way, it feels good to stop.
Hello, this is Dr. Duncan McEwen of Wellness First Psychiatric Associates in Durham, North Carolina. Today we're going to talk about exercise and how exercise can become addictive. There is research showing that some of the brain changes that occur when people engage in sustained exercise are very similar to the brain changes that occur when a person's addicted to drugs. So what might this mean? Well, the interesting thing is that the circuits in the brain that are activated by drugs of abuse are there for a good reason. They're there to reward us and help us live life well. So things like the pursuit of food, the pursuit of a mate, the pursuit of achievement, all of these things ring the bell in one's reward circuits, leading to that kind of behavior being reinforced. Unfortunately, what happens when people become addicted to drugs is those circuits are hijacked. Now, exercise is an interesting phenomenon. Almost everybody knows it's good for you to exercise. Most people think on first pass that to exercise takes a lot of effort and discipline, and to a degree that's true. But over time, if one begins to exercise a fair amount, the pleasure circuits and some of these changes we just referred to are influenced in ways that encourage the behavior, so that the person suddenly notices that when they don't exercise, they begin to feel a little bit yucky, and they also notice that on a day where they're planning to exercise, there's an increased sense of anticipation and eagerness to do so. So what we're going to do in the next moment is just take a look at some of the science involved in why exercise can become addictive, and in doing so we're also going to be looking at some of the science behind maladaptive addictive behaviors such as drug abuse.
Okay, in order to consider the biological changes that lead to addictive behaviors being anchored, let's start by just taking a look at the reward centers in the brain. As you can see, there are discrete areas. One in green is called the nucleus accumbens, and the other in purple is called the ventral tegmental area. These circuits are interesting. The nucleus accumbens, think of it as the bell that gets rung when a person experiences a reward. So you take a drug of abuse, something fires in the nucleus accumbens and you feel pleasure. The ventral tegmental area is a more complicated area behaviorally. This has to do with behaviors that circumscribe addiction. The cravings, the excitement around seeking out the drug, circuits involving memory of having had drug experiences, and so on. So these two areas of the reward circuits interact in complex ways. But if we start to consider the specifics of the structural changes in the brain that occur with addictions, we need to start thinking about DNA. DNA is, of course, the blueprint of the body. We are what our genes determine we will become. What people don't think about is that throughout the lifespan there's also a continual process of remodeling. As cells die, they need to be replaced in specific structures, and as we encounter new environments, we sometimes need to undergo biological changes in order to optimally adapt to those new environments. For example, if I go to the gym and begin to exercise with weights, I'll bulk up my muscles, and the way that occurs is DNA is turned on in very specific ways to make muscle fibers. So how does this occur? Well, in the brain, the structures we're talking about are going to be very small. Here's an example of a small structure. It's a dopamine receptor. It's a protein in the brain, which is a long chain of amino acids that folds together in a very specific way to produce its function. And dopamine, of course, is a neurotransmitter involved in the transmission of signals in the brain, very important in some of the circuits involved in addictions, particularly the reward centers. And the way that a behavior leads to structural change is through what are called transcription factors. Here's an example of one. that's very important in addictive behaviors. This is called FOSB. As you can see, the little green FOSB settles on the DNA in an area and turns it on like a switch to produce specific structural changes. And what scientists have been able to determine is that when a person engages in compulsive addictive behaviors over a period of time, the FOSB levels increase. And FOSB structural changes tend to have to do more with the VTA area of the brain we talked about earlier when we pictured the brain's reward circuits. The VTA area has to do with the anticipation of getting the reward, the planning of getting the reward, the excitement of getting the reward. Scientists think that this aspect of addiction may be actually more important than the reward itself. We know, for example, that addicts over an extended period of time get less reward when they use their drugs, but they never lose their cravings and sense of excitement around procuring them. So the bottom line is that we know that the circuits in the brain, the reward circuits in the brain, exist to cause us to live life well. They reinforce adaptive behaviors, but they also can be hijacked by drugs of abuse. What exercise is, however, is a healthy behavior, and as we pointed out in the caption to this video, researchers have shown that a person who engages in sustained exercise over an extended period of time will build up FOSB levels just like an addict will.
Hi, I'm back from bike riding, so it's a good time to talk about some concluding remarks regarding exercise and addiction. I'm joined by my little friend Coconut, who I was afraid if I didn't put him in the foreground of the picture, he'd probably be in the background making noise. But the points I want to conclude with regarding exercise are, one, there's pretty good evidence that exercise is addictive in a healthy way, both observationally and both from the kind of data that scientists are generating, such as what we talked about earlier regarding FOSB, the transcription factor. The other point about exercise is I think it's a great solution for addicts. Why? Addicts, to begin with, have a weakness in getting addicted to things. So why not turn that weakness into a strength and get addicted to something that's healthy? There is one warning, though, I want to give people, which is that the reward of exercise is a delayed gratification. While you're exercising, it's not particularly pleasant. It's afterwards, during the recovery period, that you'll feel a reward. And having exercised this morning on my bike, for the rest of the day, I'll have a pleasant reminder of having exercised. One, a feeling of accomplishment, which tickles my reward circuits. Two, the muscles have a strange kind of a post-exercise soreness that feels really good and reminds me that my muscles are getting stronger. Rewards like this. So if you begin to exercise, just keep in mind it'll take a while to begin to really sense these rewards, but the more you keep up with it, I think you'll start to notice that you want to do it more and more, and on days where you're planning to exercise, you'll feel a pleasant sense of anticipation. So I hope you put on your track shoes and start to exercise. It's a win-win situation. Until next time, thank you for listening.